Archives of Prasar Bharati presents the timeless treasure of golden era.
If cartooning is a war with faces, a pleasant war with human faces that are laughing and laughed at every day, the one cartoonist who always strived effortlessly yet effectively is the group graphic editor of India Today, cartoonist Ajit Ninan. Whether it is on a computer screen with an electronic stylus or on a piece of paper with a crocquill pen, caricaturing of noted personalities comes as easily as a leisurely doodling to Ajit Ninan anytime. Caricaturing and cartooning are two inseparable skills for Ajit Ninan because they both deal with human faces in any case. His analysis of the human face is very interesting and informative.
Well, if you look at the human face, unlike any other animal or being on earth, the human face has got the maximum variety of features, because not just racially, not just color-wise, but even through sheer expression. Just by the twitch of a little movement on your face, you can generate expression, which no other animal or being in the world can do it. So the entire science of cartooning is based on these few lines. Just by the shift of eyebrows, by the length of your lip, by the frown on your face, goggling eyes, and various other facial features and formations can create the expressions depending on the mood of the human. So the cartoonist has to essentially look at these, and there are some faces which have exotic lines for cartoonists which have to be studied beautifully by the cartoonist to play on those features. So usually politicians and things like that, like you had the Sitaram Kesaris or the Lallus or even Charan Singh or Jagjeevan Ram and people like that, who had beautiful faces for cartoonists. They, it's like a vegetable market. You have all forms of vegetables in their faces, and that's the thing cartoonists have to exploit. So when I look at a face, I have to look at some weak point, maybe a hairy ear, pair of ears, or a big nose. I mean, Mrs. Gandhi's nose could be really stretched to make it look like the beak of a crane, and the grace of a crane. All that came into Mrs. Gandhi as a person. She could fly like a crane. I mean, she was graceful in her walk. All those parallels have to, it's like rotoscoping in your mind. The cartoonist has to visualize all that before he puts it in line form. Similarly, you had good lookers like Rajiv when he came in. I mean, we were quite nervous as to how we could make fun of his face, because he had such good eyes, good nose, good lips, everything was perfect. Till the little helipad started coming on his head, that is his bald patch. That was the relief for the cartoonist. And then after that we went to town.
The magic of caricaturing is one thing, and the skillful demonstration of coloring it by cartoonist Ajit Ninan, like this, is another exciting feature to watch and even to learn a little for any art lover of any age.
So that's about how you do the face. But usually I do very little drawing on screen. It's only on paper that I draw. I scan it, bring it to my computer, and then I color it. So the computer, I use it only for coloring, not for drawing. Now this was just a demonstration as to how this pen, the electronic stylus as we call it, the vacuum stylus, can also be used for drawing. But I would never ever try to draw on the computer because nothing like drawing on paper. I mean,
Compared to doing a one-cut cartoon for a national daily on the same day, drawing a single cartoon like this in a week, rather leisurely, for a national weekly like India Today must be very advantageous to a cartoonist like Ajit Ninan.
well, there are both disadvantages and advantages in the sense that the tension point is to think of an idea well in advance, at least a week in advance, because what I do on Tuesday hits the stands on Monday and Tuesday in the rest of the country. So I have to really pick on macro situations that are slated to take place that particular week. And so that is where the challenge is, to pick the right news item to gauge the mood of the country at that time, at least my readership at that time. The advantageous thing is that the shelf value of that cartoon is going to be there for a week. So at least for 7 days, your cartoon is there on the stands. And it's all the more tense because you have to make sure that the quality of that cartoon is good. I mean, it should be appealing, it should be colorful, it should be entertaining. And I'm trying to develop a new form of cartooning where, like the commercial cinema. Now, if I do a daily cartoon, it will be definitely in black and white. There won't be time for color because firstly, the reproduction will be bad. Secondly, I just won't have the time. I have to be very basic in my lines, very powerful in my lines, very basic.
Then there must be some serious precautions to be taken from the point of view of the reader, right?
Well, first of all, I have to be very audience conscious because it's market journalism. I have to respect the tastes of my readership, of course, which only comes after I clear it by the editors whose consent is of utmost importance to carry that cartoon or to print that cartoon. So there's a constant interaction, reaction between me and the editors. So that sort of interaction takes place before I, think of a cartoon, which I also get it from the editorial meeting. Now, it is like sitting on stage and drawing. You have to be conscious that a whole variety of people are going to watch this. And humor is like a rubber band. There is no written constitution about my limits. The cartoonist's own ethics has to dictate his limits. And I have to be in touch with the daily cartoonist works so that it doesn't clash, because one letter can be bad. I mean, it can have very negative consequences. It's not the positive mail that I'm bothered about. Any single negative mail can give you 3 times more depression than the happiness one good letter can give you. Because, sometimes I psych myself that it has to be a good cartoon and people don't have the time to compliment you because they've got many other things, not even a call, okay? So that much respect you have to command in the market. On that platform, you start thinking of a cartoon. And being India, which is so complex, so religious, so ethnic, all that, I have to be very careful about perceptions, about reactions, sentimentalities, emotions. So I try my best.
Born in Hyderabad, South India, in 1955, Cartoonist Ajit Ninan had his education in Hyderabad and Madras and acquired a master's degree in political science in 1977. Ajit Ninan had freelanced as a cartoonist and mastered his skills in commercial designing and captionless cartooning for 2 years thereafter. Actually, early symptoms of his creative skills in cartooning had appeared in his toddler days itself.
Cartooning started in the convent when I was in the dormitory at third standard, controlled by very strict Italian nuns. The only way I could keep away from home, my thoughts away from home, was entertainment and self-entertainment. So I made cartoons of my friends, my real bratty friends who used to bully us, or the matron, or the mother superior, things like that.
And now, as an adult, he finds safe entertainment in caricaturing famous personalities just like that.
Well, there's one thing that always fascinated me was the campus life because of the sereneness of the whole thing. Noise pollution was one major factor. Like today in Delhi, I suffer. I suffer so much because of traffic, noise in the office, arguments, one-upmanship conversations. Cartoonists are heavily into arguments and conversations within their minds. So when you hear these things externally, it is like two noisy areas you're confronting with. Two noisy areas you're confronting with. So that sort of challenge to work in an office setup and to maintain your cool, because you're thinking of a certain cartoon, invariably there are conversations, editorial conversations taking place outside. So that chain which led you to a particular idea falls like a pack of cards. So the campus served this mind beautifully because I could cancel my classes in the afternoon, shift them to the morning, have a nap in the afternoon and do all your readings in the evening and then cartoon in the night. And those days there was nothing called a fax machine or a computer, email, nothing. At least in my conception. So the easiest way was to courier them by registered post to the cartoons, to the cartoon magazines abroad or to the agents abroad or whatever, which means that is giving a lead time of a week or 10 days. So it had to be general international cartoons, whimsical cartoons, political cartoons, the typical north-south NGO type of cartoons. I mean, that was the type of cartooning I thought of at that time. Of course, now I do something, send it to the net, after 10 minutes it's there on the air. That's the speed you're dealing with today. Let us take another face, I'll just tell you.
Let's watch another demonstration of creating a profile now. A profile of our Indian Prime Minister, Atal Bihari Vajpayee, and see how it can be transmitted in colors to the net by cartoonist Ajit Ninan.
Now for transmitting, usually you do it in an RGB format, which is red, green and blue. And then after you finish your colors,
Now the coloring is over and a mere click of a button can transmit this picture to the net. Ajit Ninan is happily married in 1978 to Elizabeth, who must be congratulated for teaching him the art of cooking by showing him that it's no different from his cartooning. Surya Ajit Ninan soon discovered that an omelette has perfectly symbolized the Indian polity.
Well, the omelette is the best thing to symbolize what our polity is all about. You have the vegetarian omelette, the non-vegetarian omelette, So basically an omelette is nothing but a coalition. It has got all forms of vegetables. The base, the egg base, is the system, the constitution, the polity. And then you have the hot, chilies and, there my wife is helping me already. And then you have the neutral ones like the mushrooms, which can be eaten both by the non-veg and the vegetarian guys. So basically, you're experimenting with something called omelettes because this gives me all the ideas.
An omelette? Giving cartoon ideas, is it?
Well, in the sense that the richness of India, you find in this one thing called the omelette. Because there are so many types of omelettes, which means there are so many types of coalitions. So every coalition has got its own vegetables and ingredients. That is the whole point about the omelette. And when I make this thing called the omelette, it gives me so many ideas because you're chopping things. That's what cartooning is all about. You chop things to put them in the right place so that the masses can taste something good and funny. So life is nothing but an omelette.
I like his role as a father the most. He's very caring towards his daughters. We have two daughters also. One is in college, and he really looks after them very well. And it's not that he started doing it now, but right from the time they were very small, any problem we had, he was always there for for the daughters. And my younger daughter is in school now. He really, maybe I may get tensed up about their studies and all, but he's always there, kind of, there at the back. And I think these girls, both of them realize that he's there and he'll always be there as a support.
Yeah, I like being his daughter. Actually. And I actually look forward to my mornings with him because it's so much fun, you hardly get to see him. I see him at, say, 10 at one particular time at night, and then one morning, like when he drops me to college, like say half an hour we spend together. And I tell him lots of things about college, and he takes a lot of interest in what I do because when he talks to me about his college life, when he was in college, it's so much fun. So when I tell him, he kind of understands it. So, there's a better sort of communication as far as education and extracurricular things are concerned, and he always encourages me. In fact, he tells me if you need any help in college as far as art is concerned, tell me, I'll help you out with it. If there are any lectures you need to do, I'd come and give it for you. So he's very supportive and very nice that way. Very talented. I'm talented in the sense, but I'm not as good as my father. And the sort of art that I like the theoretical version of art. So I like appreciating art. But I can sketch a bit, but
more than she, I have taken interest in art.
Well, first time when they heard that my father was Ajit Ninan, they were just like very surprised and they were like, wow, this is like really, really nice. How come, we didn't know that your father, because I'd never openly sort of told them that I was Ajit Ninan's daughter, or the fact that hinted that he was working for India Today and he was a cartoonist. So finally, when they did find out that he was a cartoonist, they were just absolutely amazed about it. And they were like, this is amazing. Imagine having a father who's so talented and whose work is so much appreciated. And he's, well known because of his work. It's amazing. That's all they said.
Well, The unique thought process and the run for the ideas of the master blaster of Indian cartooning is also equally interesting.
Well, I must tell you frankly that I had to take 2 floors only for my thought, because my younger one, she is learning how to dance, and this constant thumping that goes on upstairs, the whole house vibrates. Now she will be doing her arrangetum shortly, so I can't complain. So either way, I do my thinking very late in the night when they are watching something romantic like Friends, or I go very early to office, because my office is a big poultry. So before the poultry starts, I have to think of all my ideas, because journalists can be very noisy. They are arguing all the time on discussing TV shows, you know. So it can be very disturbing for the mind. So you look for these quiet times of the day. So you beat the system by going early to office, also coming late, because you're avoiding the same volume, peak rush volume.
Ajit Ninan's cartoons hardly carry any textual captions and attract an occasional criticism that they are just satirical illustrations.
Well, 3 points. One is, when you are a daily cartoonist, your cartoon is surrounded by text and various other news items, nothing related to your cartoon. So the lines in your cartoon, the captioning in your cartoon helps the reader understand as to what topic you're talking about, number one. Number two is, in a magazine, I am surrounded by the same text that the visual is talking about. So my editor very sweetly told me years back, and it's helped me a lot, that when you're surrounded by text which is talking about the same thing, why do you add text to your cartoon? So let it be a silent entertainer. Number three is, we are a regional editions firm where the same cartoon is also printed in other languages. And so my puns and wisecracks which take place in English will not fit into regional languages like Hindi or Telugu or Tamil and things like that. So that was one of the constraints of avoiding captions in my cartoon. And the richness of a drawing, the details, and mind you, the West today is dominating India for one thing called details. I mean, we are a culture of details. You look at our ancient art, I mean, if there is no detail, I mean, you get away with simplicity because you can't draw or you are lazy. I mean, that's no way to justify a cartoon. I mean, I admire Mario that way, I mean, who influenced me so much in my childhood, because the harmony of a room which had 25 people, by the sheer light and shade of textures in clothes, shows the richness of the art of cartooning. But the essence of cartooning, I feel, starts with the face, because face speaks volumes, and the double-speakness of a politician comes always through the face, and hands come next, because various politicians have got various usages of hands. You have the Sonia Gandhi viper handshake, then you have the Vajpayee's dialogue hand, and you have Advani's also, and even Arun Shourie plays around with his hands a lot. So these are things we have to constantly watch on TV wherever possible.
So, coming back to computer designing, is it likely to replace the cartoonist's hand in future?
Well, I don't think so, because I use my computer only for coloring, number one. Number two, for storing. Number three, for distorting. Otherwise, you know, this box is nothing. I mean, the creativity, the genius of the hand and the mind cannot be replaced by any machine. My strokes, my lines can only come through my hand on paper. I can never, I've got a beautiful tablet, my pen is very smooth, but I can never get the lines, the power which I get on paper on computer. I mean, that much I can say for future cartoonists. Don't think the computer can help you as far as your style is concerned. Otherwise, you'll all begin to look alike. The point is to keep the paper going, keep the pen going. There are so many types of brushes, there are so many types of crockwheel nibs, there are rapidographs, there are sketch pens, there are charcoal textures. Everything is given in the computer, but you can't use it. You can ultimately use only paper, hand and mind for your cartoon.